The gathering hall of the Galactic Council stood silent as representatives from 100 worlds watched the ancient pedestal at the center of the chamber. Upon it rested the Dragon Stone, a crystal older than most civilizations in the known universe. It glowed with soft crimson light, pulsing like a heartbeat that had continued for 10,000 years. Today was the selection day, a ceremony that happened once every 5 centuries when the stone would choose a new master to wield its impossible power. Marcus Chun stood among the human delegation, feeling very small and very out of place. Humanity had only joined the galactic community 50 years ago. They were still considered young, primitive, and unimportant by the elder races. The Valorian Empire, with their golden skin and telepathic abilities, looked down upon humans as simple creatures. The Kreth Dominion, massive beings of living crystal, considered human bodies fragile and worthless. Even the Genal Solari, beings of pure light, spoke of humans as children who had barely learned to walk among the stars. Marcus was not supposed to be here at all. He was just a translator, brought along because he could speak 17 galactic languages. The actual candidates from Earth were Admiral Helena Storm and Dr. Victor Reinhard, both decorated heroes who had proven humanity's worth in the recent border conflicts. They stood near the front of the human group, dressed in their finest uniforms, looking confident and strong. The ceremony began when the High Priest of the Eternal Order stepped forward. He was an ancient Valorian, his golden skin now pale with age, his eyes clouded with centuries of wisdom. He raised his arms and spoke in the old tongue that Marcus had to translate in his mind. The Dragon Stone was not merely a weapon or a tool. It was a living thing, a fragment of the first star that had ever burned in the universe. It chose masters based on criteria no one truly understood. It sought something in the soul, something beyond strength or intelligence or even courage. One by one, candidates from each civilization approached the stone. A Valorian prince touched the crystal and felt nothing. A Kreth warrior pressed its massive hand against the surface, but the stone remained cold. A Solari elder merged with the crystal for a moment, but the connection failed. Species after species tried and failed. The Dragon Stone rejected them all without explanation or mercy. Marcus watched with growing unease. The stone seemed almost angry today, its light flickering in patterns that the priests had never seen before. Whispers spread through the hall. Perhaps the stone would choose no one this cycle. Perhaps it would sleep for another 5 centuries, leaving the galaxy without its guardian. Admiral Storm stepped forward when humanity's turn came. She placed her palm on the Dragon Stone with absolute confidence. The crystal flickered once, twice, and then went dark. The Admiral stumbled back, her face showing shock and hurt pride. Dr. Reinhard tried next, his scientific mind surely analyzing every sensation as he touched the ancient artifact. The stone gave him nothing but cold silence. The human delegation exchanged worried glances. They had hoped so desperately that the stone might choose one of their own. It would have proven to the galaxy that humanity deserved respect, that they were not just newcomers to be ignored and dismissed. But the stone had rejected them like it had rejected everyone else. The High Priest was about to end the ceremony when something strange happened. The Dragon Stone began to glow brighter than anyone had ever seen. Its crimson light shifted to pure white, blinding everyone in the chamber. The crystal started to vibrate, sending waves of energy that knocked several beings off their feet. The priests fell to their knees, speaking prayers in languages older than recorded history. And then the stone moved. It had never moved before. In 10,000 years of recorded history, the Dragon Stone had always remained on its pedestal, waiting for candidates to come to it. But now it lifted into the air, spinning slowly, its light scanning across the gathered crowd like a searchlight seeking something in the darkness. Marcus felt the beam pass over him once, twice, and then stop directly on his chest. Heat spread through his body, not painful but intense, like standing too close to a fire after being cold for a long time. He tried to step back, but his feet would not move. He tried to speak, but his voice would not come. The stone floated toward him, passing over the heads of admirals and emperors and ancient beings of unimaginable power. It stopped directly in front of Marcus Chun, a simple translator from a backwater planet on the edge of known space. The light grew brighter and brighter until it seemed like the whole universe was made of nothing but white fire. Marcus reached out his hand without understanding why. His fingers touched the surface of the dragon stone, and the universe exploded inside his mind. He saw everything. He saw the birth of the first star and the death of the last one. He saw civilizations rise and fall across billions of years. He saw the dragon stone being forged in the heart of a dying god, a being so vast that galaxies were merely cells in its body. He saw every master who had ever wielded the stone, their triumphs and failures, their moments of glory and their final days. He saw what the stone truly was, not a weapon but a bridge, a connection between mortal life and something far greater than mortal minds could normally touch. And then the visions ended, and Marcus stood in the silent hall with the dragon stone fused to his palm, its light now matching the rhythm of his heartbeat. The silence lasted for exactly 3 seconds before chaos erupted. The Valorian delegation demanded explanations. The Kreth accused humans of cheating somehow. The priests surrounded Marcus, asking questions in languages he suddenly understood without needing to translate. Everyone was shouting, arguing, refusing to believe what they had just witnessed. A human. The stone had chosen a human. Not a king or a warrior or a scientist, but a translator. A nobody from a species that most of the galaxy considered barely worth noticing. The high priest finally restored order by raising his staff and sending a wave of silence through the chamber. He approached Marcus slowly, his ancient eyes studying the young human with new interest. When he spoke, his voice trembled with something that might have been fear or might have been wonder. The stone had never reacted like this before. In all recorded history, it had never sought out its own master. It had never glowed white. It had never fused with its chosen one so completely. Whatever Marcus Chun was, whatever humans were, the dragon stone had recognized something in them that no other species possessed. Marcus found his voice at last. He asked the question that everyone was thinking. Why him? Why not the admiral or the doctor? Why not any of the thousands of more qualified candidates who had touched the stone before him? The answer came not from the priest, but from the stone itself. Images flooded his mind, and somehow he understood how to share them with everyone in the chamber. The dragon stone projected its memories across the hall, showing scenes from human history that no alien had ever witnessed. It showed humans surviving ice ages with nothing but fire and determination. It showed them building civilizations in deserts and jungles and frozen wastelands. It showed them fighting against impossible odds, losing everything, and then rebuilding from ashes. It showed them caring for their sick and elderly, even when resources were scarce. It showed them creating art and music and stories, even in their darkest moments. It showed them reaching for the stars with primitive rockets held together by hope and mathematics. The stone showed what made humans different from every other species in the galaxy. They were not the strongest or the smartest or the oldest, but they were the most adaptable, the most stubborn, the most unwilling to accept defeat. They carried within them an impossible combination of compassion and ferocity, creativity and determination, hope and survival instinct. They were chaos and order bound together in fragile bodies that somehow refused to break. The Valorians could read minds, but could not change their own nature. The Kreth were immortal, but could not grow or evolve. The Solari were beings of pure energy, but could not understand physical existence. Every species had traded something away during their evolution, sacrificing flexibility for power or stability for advancement. Humans had traded nothing. They had kept everything. They were generalists in a galaxy of specialists, and that made them valuable beyond measure. They can adapt to any situation, survive any disaster, and find hope in any darkness. The Dragonstone needed exactly that quality in its master, someone who could bridge all the gaps between different forms of existence, someone who carried the potential for anything and everything inside their simple human soul. Marcus felt the stone's joy at finally finding what it had sought for so long. It had waited 10,000 years for a species like humanity to emerge, to evolve, to reach the stars. It had rejected countless candidates because none of them were flexible enough, adaptable enough, human enough. The projections ended, and silence returned to the chamber. But this silence was different from before. It was the silence of minds changing, of prejudices crumbling, of understanding dawning across 100 different species at once. The high priest bowed to Marcus, a gesture of respect that he had never offered to any master before. The Valorian prince, who had been so confident earlier, stared at the human with something like envy and admiration mixed together. Even the massive Kreth warrior inclined its crystalline head in acknowledgement. Marcus looked down at the Dragonstone embedded in his palm. He could feel its power flowing through his veins, vast and terrible and beautiful. He could feel its memories becoming his own, its purpose becoming his purpose. He was no longer just Marcus Chen, translator from Earth. He was the guardian of the stone, the bridge between worlds, the chosen protector of a galaxy that had spent 50 years looking down on his species. He raised his hand, and the stone blazed with light that reached every corner of the chamber. He spoke, and his voice carried not just sound but meaning, concepts that translated themselves into every language simultaneously. He promised to protect all life, to serve justice, to stand against the darkness that lurked between stars. He promised to be worthy of the choice that had been made. The ceremony ended with something unprecedented in galactic history. Every delegation, from the proud Valorians to the ancient Solari, lined up to pay respects to the new master. They touched his hand. They spoke words of welcome and alliance. They acknowledged that humanity had earned its place among the stars in a way that no other achievement could have matched. Admiral Storm and Dr. Reinhard stood with the rest of the human delegation, their earlier disappointment forgotten in the overwhelming pride they felt for their species. It did not matter that they had not been chosen. What mattered was that a human had been chosen, proving that their young civilization carried something precious and unique in its collective soul. As Marcus walked out of the chamber into the starlit night of the council world, he felt the weight of his new responsibility and the warmth of his new power. Somewhere among those distant stars, humanity was going about its daily life, unaware that everything had just changed. They would learn soon enough. They would understand that they were not inferior, not primitive, not unworthy. They were exactly what they had always been, survivors and dreamers and fighters and believers. The Dragonstone pulsed against his palm, singing a song of fire and hope and endless possibility. The worthy had been found at last, and his name was human.